Hello, I think it's time to discuss what is human trafficking. Trafficking in person is a serious crime and the grave violation of human rights. Every year, thousands of men, women, and children fall into the hands of traffickers in their own countries and abroad. Almost every country in the world is affected by trafficking, whether as a country of origin, transit, or destination for victims. So, come to this point and being noticed that this is a serious problem, shall we ask ourselves what are doing our governments or governments in general to stop human trafficking? Well, in general, government intervention varies. While some countries are creating policies that work for the cultures, others are lagging behind, with no counter trafficking laws at all. There are also some international standards. For example, in 2003, the United Nations Protocol to Prevent, Suppress, and Punish Trafficking in Person established a universal trafficking definition and set a goal for countries to prevent and combat trafficking and assist victims. Similarly, the U.S. Department of State Trafficking in Person report offers suggestions for nations to comply with the minimum standards for the elimination of trafficking. A sample of what is being done to stop human traffic can be started from the United States. In this country, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act was an act created and authorized in 2000 and was the first federal law to address sex trafficking and labor trafficking in the United States. The TVPA focused on the prevention and protection for trafficking survivors, as well as prosecution for the traffickers. This act was reauthorized in 2003, 2005, and 2008 as the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act.
Nearly 80% of human trafficking is for sex, and 19% is for labor exploitation.
There is an estimated 27 million adults and 14 million children around the world who are victims of human trafficking.
There are more human slaves in the world today than ever before in history.
The end of Cold War has resulted in the growth of regional conflicts and decline of borders. Many rebel groups turn to human trafficking to fund military actions and gain garner soldiers.
Slave to catch slaves, meaning traffickers send broken-in girls to recruit younger girls into sex trade. Sex traffickers often train girls themselves, raping them and teaching them sex acts.
Sex traffickers use a variety of ways to condition their victims, including subjecting them to starvation, rape, gang rape, physical abuse, beating, confinement, threats of violence, toward the victim and victim's family, forced drug use, and shame.
80% of North Koreans who escape into China are women. 9 out of 10 of those women become victims of human trafficking, often for sex. If the women complain, they are deported back to North Korea, where they are thrown into gulags or are executed.
The Western presence in Kosovo, such as NATO troops and civilians, have fueled the rapid growth of sex trafficking and forced prostitution. Amnesty International has reported that NATO soldiers, UN police, and Western aid workers operated with near impunity in exploiting the victims of sex traffickers.
Ludwig Feinberg, a convicted trafficker, said, "You can buy a woman for 10,000 and make your money back in a week if she's pretty and young. Then everything else is free."
Researchers note that sex trafficking plays a major role in the spread of HIV. Human trafficking is one of the fastest growing criminal enterprises because it holds relatively low risk with high profit potential. Criminal organizations are increasingly attracted to human trafficking because, unlike drugs, humans can be sold repeatedly.
According to a 2009 Washington Times article, the Taliban buys children as young as 7 years old to act as suicide bombers. The price for child suicide bombers is between $7,000 and $14,000.
Over 71% of trafficked children show suicidal tendencies.
UNICEF estimates that 300,000 children younger than 18 are currently trafficked to serve in armed conflicts worldwide.
More than 30% of all trafficking cases from 2007 to 2008 involved children being sold into the sex industry.
Lady Gaga's Bad Romance video is about human trafficking. In the video, Gaga is trafficked by a Russian bathhouse into sex slavery.
Most human trafficking in the United States occurs in New York, California, and Florida.
After sex, the most common form of human trafficking is forced labor. Researchers argue that as the economic crisis deepens, the number of people trafficked for forced labor will increase.
Belgium, Germany, Greece, Israel, Italy, Japan, the Netherlands, Thailand, Turkey, and the US are ranked very high as destination countries of traffic victims.
Several countries rank high as source countries for human trafficking, including Belarus, the Republic of Moldova, the Russian Federation, Ukraine, Albania, Bulgaria, Lithuania, Romania, China, Taiwan, and Nigeria.
Human trafficking not only involves sex and labor, but people are also trafficked for organ harvesting.
Women are trafficked to the U.S. largely to work in the sex industry, including strip clubs, peep and touch shows, massage parlors that offer sexual services, and prostitution. They are also trafficked to work in sweatshops, domestic servitude, and agricultural work.
Sex traffickers often recruit children because not only are children more unsuspecting and vulnerable than adults, but there is also a high market demand for young victims. Traffickers target victims on the telephone, on the internet, through friends, at the mall, and in after-school programs.
Human trafficking is estimated to surpass the drug trade in less than 5 years. Journalist Victor Malarek reports that it is primarily men who are driving human trafficking, especially trafficking for sex.
An estimated 30,000 victims of sex trafficking die each year from abuse, disease, torture, and neglect. 80% of those sold into sexual slavery are under 24, and some are as young as 6 years old. Human trafficking is the only area of transnational crime in which women are significantly represented as victims, as perpetrators, and as activists fighting against this crime.
Family members will often sell children and other family members into slavery. The younger the victim, the more money the trafficker receives. For example, a 10-year-old named Kira was sold into a brothel by her aunt. The now 22-year-old
A human trafficker can earn 20 times what he or she paid for a girl, provided the girl was not only physically brutalized to the point of ruining her beauty. The pimp could sell her again for a greater price because he had trained her and broken her spirit, which saves future buyers the hustle. A 2003 study in the Netherlands found that, on average, a single-sex slave could earn her pimp around 300,000 a year.
According to UNICEF, over the past 30 years, over 30 million children have been sexually exploited through human trafficking.
Victims of human trafficking suffer devastating physical and psychological harm. However, due to language barriers, lack of knowledge about available services, and the frequency with which traffickers move victims, human trafficking victims and their perpetrators are difficult to catch.
Global warming and severe natural disasters have left millions homeless and impoverished, which has created desperate people easily exploited by human traffickers.
One possible solution, though it may look controversial, may lie on legalization. Alright, but legalization of what?
Prostitution is a pretty lucrative yet illegal activity. A pimp can get from a woman nearly $250,000. If prostitution is legalized, it would be highly regulated in order to watch prostitutes be over the age. Plus, the taxes applied to this activity can be used to fight against human trafficking.